Welcome to the garage. This week we're just doing a bit of videoing on what I've done in the past. This is a outside flywheel 350 Gold Star that I built some years ago. We built it for Isle of Man Manx for the 1990, but unfortunately it failed, but that weren't a problem. Because I didn't finish it until the day we were leaving, so we didn't expect it to finish. But anyway, we went back in 91, and a lad called Dave Sells rode it, and that's Carolyn Sells' father, who Carolyn actually won a Manx Grand Prix on a 400 Honda, an incredible feat. Anyway, so Dave rode this, and he got round it Ireland at 84 mile an hour. Absolutely fantastic. So yeah, and the bike's gone on strength to strength of it years, and we've modified it slightly, fit regs and stuff with silencers, and we went to a 4 leading shoe brake. But the bike's one of my modified frames. It's the first thing I did. This is what started me off with modifying bikes. We've cut down a Beazer chassis, put like a Manx back end on it, just to make the seat fit better than anything else. Shortened forks, got Yamaha internals. It did have a twin leading shoe brake, which were a lot lighter than this brake that's in. It's far too heavy, to be quite honest. But it was donated to me for one of the lads. John Cronshaw tested it some years ago for classic bike, and he suggested it wanted a 4 leading shoe brake. So one of my mates donated that to me to get it to stop better. But unfortunately it don't steer as well. But there you go, you have problems. But anyway, it's got a one-piece crank in it, outside flywheel. You can see it bigger barrel, but that's a later addition. The cylinder heads are standard headers we've had on all the time. It's got a 5-speed Triumph gearbox, because when I first built this bike it was very hard to get a 5-speed box. Now Nova gearbox is the thing to buy, and that's cured 5-speed box problem. But yeah, that's where it all started when I started doing my bikes. So like I say, it'll still get modified slightly, but I don't use it now. It's done a lot of work. It's done a lot of winning, and I'm getting too old now to mess about with it. So we're doing other projects, and you've seen the orange one that I did last year, and hopefully that'll just do as much winning as this one. So, and we did do Donington last week, and it did do 2 wins last week. So Stephen Andrews was riding it, and a fantastic day, or weekend he had. So I'm pleased with that. But anyway, we did decide to do a 500 version of this, but the unfortunate bit, the crankshaft on this bike were very hard to do. We started off with a massive billet of steel, and one at Relations actually turned me down in his college doing his degree for HNC, I think it is, for engineering, and he turned the crank down, and that around Nicky Orson, who's actually been riding my bikes as well over years, but that's when he first started out. So the idea were to do a cast crank, and I could make them simpler, cheaper, and well, we could actually sell the stuff, so people could go cheap racing. But anyway, we'll show you in a minute where we went with that. But we did a 500 version, and that's my 500 bike. Did a bit of winning in its day, but the 500, I tried to speed it up a bit of self-tuning. So we've finished up modifying the engine and making it faster. That's my bling bike, as I call it, when it gets finished. But this is what happened to my crank. You can see it's now become a proper outside flywheel. The crank's still in the case for the time inside. You can see where it broke through the big end. The rod and piston's still in there. That were a mismatch on my barrel, by the way, don't call it. I nicked nuts off at top, so it's never been split. So anyway, that's one of my rocker boxes that we're machining up. They worked out quite well. And this is the flywheel. And that's another crank. Was going to be for this engine, but I've run out of interest and left it. So we will get back to it sometime, I would think. But you can see the bearing is still on. In fact, I'm going to turn this flywheel around because light ain't very good. So we'll turn that round. Right, and as you look at this flywheel, you see that's my ignition pickup for Suzuki Ignition, and that's my ignition unit still on the case. Now all the rest of the case just exploded. I've blown this up down Snetterton. It was my fault. I detonated it. Never detonated a bike before, and everybody was saying it. We don't know whether it was detonation that smashed the crank or whether it just failed. But this is years ago now, so we've got a bit of tarnishing on the crank and stuff. But you can see the crank on a little bit better there. Now it gone rusty and messed about, but you can see there the bearing is still on, and the oil seal is still in there, and the case just disappeared, rested case. So like I say, we're not sure whether it detonated. Now this bike did go around Isle of Man as a practice, but unfortunately in race it broke its the drive belt. So unfortunately it didn't get round there, but not properly anyway. But that's the cranks, the cast crank that I've made. You can see I've started machining it. Now these cranks got them done very cheap, so that was the reason I wanted to do these cranks. But because it broke, I thought, well, if somebody hurts them, then it'll be a serious problem. So, and I'm talking about myself as much as anybody else, but I do let all lads ride my bikes, so it could happen to somebody, and I'd have been in a right mess had it have done. So one day I'm hoping to put it back together and put it back in bike. But yeah, so, but you can see with a big barrel, and obviously we've got a pressure valve there and a take-off point for oil pressure to make sure as it were right. Yeah, but that's basically how she finished, and I left it on one side. I built another engine with a normal crank in. It's one of my cylinder heads. So we've made on this particular engine, we made the rocker box, the cylinder head, the barrel, modified crank cases, and crank. We made his own crank. So yeah, so this is what you do when you play in your garage, and hopefully you people out there will appreciate how much time I must have spent in this. So it did knock me duck off quite a bit. But back to my 350. That engine is the exact same engine as I built in Fit 90 Manx. I failed on it. The oiling was a problem. I didn't get enough oil in it, and basically that's how she finished, you know, with us racing, and that's how she's been forever since. I'd like to modify it up and what have you, but we're running out of time anyway. So there you go. Thank you for watching, and I will be showing you some more bits. It's a couple of rocker boxes I make and all. So anyway, so we'll be seeing you again. Thank you for watching, and goodbye.